There's a specific moment in life that feels heavier than failure. It does not arrive at the beginning of a journey, when doubt is expected. It does not appear during struggle, where resistance feels justified. It emerges quietly, almost invisibly, when success becomes close enough to touch. This is the moment when effort has already paid off, when progress is no longer theoretical, when the distance between who you were and who you are becoming begins to collapse. And for some people, that is precisely when everything starts to fall apart. Not dramatically, not through obvious panic, but through subtle withdrawal, hesitation, distraction, or an inexplicable loss of momentum. What looks like self-sabotage from the outside often feels like relief on the inside. A release of pressure, a return to something familiar. The paradox is difficult to accept. The behaviors that once preserved emotional safety now interfere with fulfillment. This pattern is not rooted in laziness or lack of discipline. It is rooted in memory, not narrative memory, but embodied memory. For many, early success did not lead to freedom. It led to scrutiny, expectation, emotional distance, or conditional approval. Achievement became associated with being watched, used, or required to perform. The nervous system adapted accordingly. Growth began to register as danger, visibility as exposure, progress as loss of control. Long before ambition formed, the body learned restraint. And now, when success approaches, the body responds first, tightening, slowing, pulling away, long before the conscious mind understands why. Self-sabotage is often framed as a contradiction of desire. In reality, it is the continuation of an internal logic formed under different conditions. From a trauma-informed perspective, the nervous system prioritizes regulation over achievement. It does not ask whether something is good. It asks whether something feels safe. When emotional safety was inconsistent or conditional, the system learned to associate closeness, attention, or advancement with risk. What should have been rewarding became overstimulating. This creates a narrowed window of tolerance. Success introduces intensity, decisions, expectations, exposure, responsibility. For individuals whose early environments demanded emotional vigilance, this intensity exceeds what the nervous system can comfortably process. Rather than moving forward, the system moves inward. Attachment theory deepens this understanding. If belonging was maintained through compliance, emotional attunement to others, or self-minimization, then personal expansion threatens relational stability. Success becomes not just an achievement, but a potential rupture. Identity, in these cases, formed around regulation rather than expression, around preventing disruption rather than pursuing desire. What appears as avoidance in adulthood is often the body preserving an identity that once ensured connection. The long-term cost of this adaptation is not simply unrealized potential. It is the gradual fragmentation of the self. Living in a cycle where forward movement consistently collapses erodes trust in one's own intentions. Desire becomes suspect. Hope becomes something to manage rather than follow. Carl Jung described neurosis as a split between conscious direction and unconscious necessity. In self-sabotage, that split becomes chronic. One part moves toward growth. Another intervenes to maintain safety. Neither is wrong, but they're no longer aligned. This creates an invisible grief, not for what was lost, but for what never fully formed. Authenticity becomes something approached cautiously. Rest feels undeserved. Success feels destabilizing rather than grounding. The fear beneath the pattern is rarely acknowledged, yet deeply rooted. That becoming more visible will lead to emotional disconnection. So the psyche chooses familiarity, not because it is fulfilling, but because it is predictable. In adulthood, this dynamic manifests in nuanced and socially acceptable ways. Opportunities are delayed just long enough to lose momentum. Relationships destabilize when intimacy deepens. Projects are abandoned at the threshold of completion. Achievements are downplayed. Ambition is reframed as irresponsibility. Stillness is replaced with constant preparation. These are not personality traits. They are strategies that outlived their original context. Unlearning begins not through confrontation, but through observation. The pattern softens when it is witnessed without judgment, when the behavior is seen as protection rather than failure. This reframing changes the internal relationship. Instead of pushing forward aggressively, the system is invited to expand gradually. Safety is restored first. Growth follows. Healing self-sabotage requires a shift in orientation. The goal is no longer to override fear, but to recalibrate the nervous system's definition of safety. This process is slow by necessity. Through emotional regulation, inner reparenting, and deliberate pacing, success becomes less overwhelming. Visibility no longer equates to threat. Progress stops activating collapse. What once required withdrawal can now be met with presence. The individual does not abandon protection, it evolves. In this integration, success stops feeling like a rupture from the past. It becomes a continuation of self, rather than a betrayal of survival. The work is not about fixing what is broken. It is about honoring what adapted and allowing it to rest.